Okay, we're back. Now, picking up where we left off. So let's see. Verse 33 was where we were at. So remember, Gad and Reuben had approached Moses, and they were asking to stay east of the Jordan in the land of Gilead. Moses had interpreted this as them basically, uh, belling out on the tribes of Israel. That wasn't the case. That wasn't their intent. And it says in verse 33, so Moses gave to the children of Gad, to the children of Reuben, and to half the tribe of Manasseh, the son of Joseph, the kingdom of Sihon, king of the Amorites, and the kingdom of Og, king of Bashan, the land with its cities within the borders, the cities of the surrounding country. So this is the first inheritance. This is of the lands given with Gad and um, uh, Gad and Reuben, and then half the tribe of Manasseh here east of the Jordan. Okay, let's see here. Okay, that's chapter 32. And then Numbers chapter 33. This is Israel's journey from Egypt reviewed. And also there's instructions for the conquest of Canaan that's given here in verse 51. We see 51. Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when you have crossed the Jordan into the land of Canaan, then you shall drive out all the inhabitants of the land from before you, destroy all their engraved stones, destroy all their molded images, and demolish all their high places. You shall dispossess the inhabitants of the land and dwell in it, for I have given you the land to possess. This is what's given. And if they don't do this, then right in verse 55, we see the consequence if they don't follow this command. And it says, but if you do not drive out the inhabitants of the land from before you, then it shall be that those whom you let remain shall be irritants in your eyes and thorns in your sides, and they shall harass you in the land where you dwell. And as William MacDonald says in his commentary here in regards to this, wiping out everyone, everyone during this conquest, seems harsh and cruel to us. And this is his comment. This may seem cruel to people today, but actually these people were among the most corrupt, immoral, depraved creatures whom the world has ever known. God patiently dealt with them for over 400 years without any change on their part. He knew that if his people did not kill them, Israel would become infected by their immorality and idolatry. We've already seen an example of this, just earlier with the people interacting with the Moabite women, bowing down to their gods, eating the foods that were sacrificed. Really, by just purging themselves, and it's even a lesson for us. I mean, what's tempting in your life? What is it that you deal with? What is it that you have to purge from your life? It's not in front of you. You're not even tempted by it, right? It's a good question to ask. All right, Numbers chapter 34. There, the boundaries of the promised land are laid out. You can read that, and then also maybe even look up for yourself a map, a good map, during this time period to just kind of get this visually. I'm going to show this visually here. It shows the tribes and how they were laid out. And then in language, that's what we're seeing here in this chapter. Okay, and Numbers chapter 35. So with the inheritance of the children of Israel, 48 cities were, out of all this land were to be set aside for the Levites. Because remember, the Levites, they really weren't to have land. Their portion was always to be God, right? That was their portion. So among all these the inheritance of the 12 tribes, 48 cities to be set aside. 6 of these cities were to be designated refuge cities, 3 on the west side of the Jordan, and then 3 on the east side of the Jordan. And what the refuge cities were about is that anyone who accidentally killed someone could flee and make it to the city of refuge. And if he reached that city of refuge, he was safe there until his case would come up for trial. And as far as a murderer, A murderer could not seek refuge, and a crime of hatred or enmity was punishable by death. So we see capital punishment here. In the case of manslaughter, if the person was acquitted by the congregation, he had to stay in the city of refuge until the death of the high priest. And if he came out of that city during that time period, the avenger could kill him, and nothing happened to to that person who was seeking vengeance. But nonetheless, when what we see a picture here with that person in the city until the high priest dies, and this also points to Christ, in that the death of the high priest brings freedom to those who had escaped to the city of refuge. So the death of our great high priest, Christ, frees us from the condemning demands of the law. So Numbers chapter 36, the tribe of Manasseh approached Moses again with this issue of land going to the daughters of Zelophehad. We'd seen this earlier when the daughters approached Moses. They were trying to figure out first if they would even have a portion of land, which they did. That was blessed, that was blessed by the Lord and Moses. And so now, with the inheritance of land and them having it, the question is what if these daughters marry outside of their tribe, and then in the year of Jubilee, that land would solidify. So if they'd married, within another tribe, then that land would change hands. And the solution that they came up with was that the daughters of Zelophehad were to marry within inside of the tribe, so that the land would stay within the same tribe. All right, guys, Numbers is done. We will start Deuteronomy tomorrow. Finishing up, Deuteronomy starts the 5th book, which is the Pentateuch, the first 5 books being the Pentateuch. And just kind of a quick conclusion here. 3 things that stand out in Numbers. When you look back at Numbers, one is the consistent wickedness and unbelief of the human heart. How much complaining did we see? How much unbelief did we see? How much wickedness did we see? And then we also saw the holiness of God in Numbers, and we saw him being tempered with mercy, through Moses' intercession. And then the third one is Moses. Moses really played a key part here, and we seeing him as mediator and the intercessor for the children of Israel. And and as we said, starting off with this, when we look at the book of Numbers, it's yes, it's history, yes, it's them, but lest we look at that and think that it has nothing to do with us, refer to the book of 1 Corinthians in the New Testament, and we'll finish with this. And this really shows that it is meant for us. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 11 says, "These things happened to them," them being those that we just read about. "These things happened to them as examples, and they were written for our admonition." God bless you guys. Have a happy 4th of July, and we will start Deuteronomy tomorrow. God bless.